family are certainly one of the most esteemed lineages in all of professional wrestling history. I feel a bit ashamed because I walked by you a few times today, Hector, until Nick mentioned that you were here, and I immediately got whiplash because you're the guy I was looking for. I wanted to talk, if we could, and go back and talk about wrestling in LA, because I shared with you that as a New Yorker, we didn't get an opportunity to know what was going on the West Coast. So could you tell the fans here a little bit about wrestling at the Olympic and what was going on?
Sure. The Olympic Auditorium was a mecca for for the West Coast. I believe that great athletes came out of there. A lot of good wrestlers like Hector Guerrero, Freddie Blassie. I'm talking about legends, John Tolos. These guys were awesome. I had an opportunity to even encounter with some of them in wrestling. Not necessarily Freddie Blassie because he was an older guy, but I did get tutored by him. But I would like to say that LA was a mecca of a lot of professional wrestlers passing through that wanted to vacation. So when they come to vacation, a lot of them wanted to go to LA. And back then, you know, Disneyland was in LA. It wasn't in Orlando, Florida. It was back in LA. So when people came to bring their families, wrestlers came to bring their families, they got booked. And they were booked into the Olympic Auditorium. Eileen Eaton was the first boxing promoter that was a female. And she did a great job with it. And she had two sons, Mike and Gene LaBelle. Mike LaBelle was a wrestling promoter who I had the opportunity to work with, and a great, what can I say? He knew his stuff. And what I'm trying to say, he knew the people, he knew how to bring in and open up the doors to have a great night of wrestling. And that's what it was. It's a great night of wrestling at the Olympic Auditorium, you know, every Friday night. You know, Wednesdays was TV right there at the Olympic, but then Friday night, it was the Olympic Auditorium. And it was a territory. There was a lot of other cities that were involved, Bakersfield, San Diego, you know, a lot of other places that were that time in that territory. A lot of great wrestlers. The late Moondog Mayne had many matches with him. It was a surprise for us to know when he was deceased. Outlaw Ron Bass, what can I tell you? There were so many. Gorman and Goliath, one of the best tag teams ever. You know, I could tell you wrestlers that I saw that helped me become the Guerrero that I became. And then from there, other Guerreros came that were younger than me, and we were all a product of my father, Glory.
And I'm glad you brought up Judo Gene LaBelle, because maybe the fans who are here today, they're cheering for Ronda Rousey as she goes into WrestleMania. But obviously, Rowdy Ronda Rousey, who took her gimmick from Rowdy Roddy Piper, who got trained by Judo Gene LaBelle. But Judo Gene LaBelle also imparted that knowledge on Ronda Rousey. Do you know anything about that connection?
Well, when I met Gene, I talked to Gene. The last time I talked to him was about 3 months ago. And he's a great guy, but he knows he's getting old, like all of us are, like me, I'm getting old. It's just, that's part of life, right? So he talked to me just when she was getting really famous, and he said, what do you think about my girl, Rhonda? And I said, she's awesome. And he said, yep, that's what she is. But that's what you got to understand. Gene LaBelle is probably one of the baddest dudes on the planet. And I knew this because I was talking to some MMA guys, and they say, Gene LaBelle? Yeah, we know who he is. He's probably one of the baddest dudes on the planet. I go, yeah. You know, you twist you on the pretzel and you didn't even know what happened.
So, being from the Northeast, all I knew was the product that came from the World Wrestling Federation, but you shared something with me that I was never aware of, and that is that you actually held a tag team title on the West Coast. Could you fill in the fans here on the East Coast what you were talking about there?
Well, Mike LaBelle had very, very strong ties with New York, with Mr. McMahon, and I believe it's Vince Sr. So I knew he knew Vince Jr. too, because Jr. was involved with the promotion as well. And I'm talking about who Vince is now. But what I'm talking about, Vince Sr., so there was a WWF Tag Team Championship belt that was brought in to California. And there was a the elimination that was done. And the last two teams that to battle for the elimination was the Twin Devils from Mexico versus Mando and Hector Guerrero. We did an hour and a half because they had a 90-minute time limit. We went into a 90-minute time limit draw the first time. And then in the second time, Mando and I were able to beat it and get it. And I have a picture of it. Maybe I'll put it up. If you go to my website, HectorWrestlingGuerrero.com, I'll make sure I'll have my wife put it up.
Hector, you got to do that because I'm telling you, we're up here in the Northeast. We wouldn't have known about that if you didn't just tell it to us. And that's why we at the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame exist, to make sure that this history is captured and that it's cultured and that it's there for generations to come. Thank you very much for being here with us today and for being part of this. And any parting words that you want to make?
Well, I want to say thank you to the fans, because without you, it wouldn't be anything. And, you know, let's keep America, America, right?
God bless America. Ladies and gentlemen, come on over and see Hector Guerrero here, ladies and gentlemen, a bona fide, honest-to-God hero in professional wrestling.